to another Aseret, the Big Ten source book training tutorial. And this one is on Lo Titzach, do not murder, nurture life. My goal is to help you give an overview of what the booklet is, the sections within it, some background information, maybe some good suggestions on how to enhance your sessions and discussions. I will not be going through every source and all the material, so please either read it before or after. You will note there's a ton of material here once again, more than enough. You should never run out. Even if you have an hour, hour and a half, you should choose which sections to do or make 2 sessions. Okay, let's start with the overview. So the first section over here, the introduction, is really about the value of life and our responsibility for it. On page 2, then on page 3, we get into Pshat, the literal understanding, Lo Titzach, do not murder. What's the definition of murder? Where does it apply? The third section, we get into the Yesod, the underlying principle, and that is that people are made in the image of God. And that therefore affords us the right to life. The fourth section is on page 5, nurturing life, is that obviously as a Diber, not only is it do not murder, it's the opposite, it's nurture life. So we start with a discussion about physical life. How do we nurture physical life, both ourselves and others? That goes through page 6 as well. And on page 7, we get into this section about it's not only physical life, it's also about emotional life, right? We're not just physical beings, we have a socio-emotional component, and life and death is relevant there too. On page 8, we go into intellectual life, and on page 9 into spiritual life, and how in each of these areas nurture life is so relevant. That continues on page 10 with some conversation, and then we are into the end of the booklet, the everyday supplement, additional who's who, and of course personal reflections. Okay, let's go back and go through the details. So this first section, this introduction, starts with this beautiful piece by Jonathan Sachs about just the very fact that murder is possible, and his comment that God does not save us from ourselves, even when it comes to murdering people. And that's what he found when he went to Auschwitz, the question of not where was God, but where is man? Life, the value of life, as the Rambam says, it's the most severe sin. Murder is the most severe sin a person can do. The Declaration of Independence, right? We have the right to life. This is essential, and what's included in it, and how far does it extend? Great discussion to be had over there. Then we get into Peshat, the literal understanding, and that's taken as murder is killing another person unjustly. Okay, and there are many different levels to that, of course. Lo Titzach is the Hebrew, do not murder. And Ibn Ezra expands it to not being involved at all. This could be a very interesting conversation about how this applies, and this comes up in the conversation here. What is murder? What is suicide? Is that murder? What about euthanasia? Stem cell research. What do you do? What do you do with unused embryos in vitro fertilization treatments? And other questions here. So fascinating discussions to be had. Where the Diber becomes so relevant as a core value for day-to-day, minute-to-minute living is when we go to this underlying principle, and we explore that this verse in Genesis. Noah is about to come out of the ark, and God says to him, okay, you can go out of the ark. As opposed to Adam, who was not allowed to eat animals, kill animals to eat them and use them, you can. I'm giving you the animals. However, be careful. Do not kill people. Why? Shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam damo yishafech. whoever sheds the blood of man, his blood should be shed. Why? Keep it selim elokim asa et ha'adam. Because people are made in the image of God. The conversation, what does that mean? How far does that go? But we know that this is what entitles us to life. This is the underlying principle, which we're going to turn now into a core value by living with it. How do you live with knowing that people are made in the image of God? Well, you nurture life. And that's the next section over here. We start first with the introduction to that. At Sinai, for every negative, we turned it into a positive. And then going into the positive about health and security. These are the most basic and parts to do not murder, being concerned for that. And a lot of conversation over here, page 6. On page 7, then we get into this, the social emotional aspect of life. And what I just love is that the Talmud, it doesn't mince its words. And Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak says, anyone who humiliates another in public, it is though he spilled blood. Kol hamalbin pnei chaveru barabim kilu shofech damim. It's murder. Why? Because obviously we are socio-emotional beings as well, and that's part of our life. And this, as a core value, tells us to nurture that. The next section, similarly, we find that not only emotional but even intellectual, amarava the amri inchi or chavruta or matuta. Either you have a study partner or death, meaning if you don't have anyone to discuss your ideas with or anyone to challenge your ideas, in fact, intellectually, it's a matter of life and death. The source of Rabbi Shimon Gamla, how he changed the whole education system of the Jewish people. And obviously this enters into this conversation over here about the Jewish emphasis on intellectual achievement generally. And of course, what we are, when it comes to Torah, it's not just a question of intellectual life, it's a question of, this is the next section on page 9, spiritual life. And how important that is. And if you read the Torah, Ki Eitz Chaim Hi, it's a tree of life. And that's what Moses says to the people, I'm putting before you, Hayoim, right? Hamaves, Hachaim v'hamavet natati lefanecha. Life and death I've placed before you. V'chata v'chaim. Choose life. It's a matter of choice, personal choice. And that's what our spiritual life, which of course is not only in this world, but also the Olam Haba, for the world to come. The next source is a beautiful source about Rabbi Akiva, about how it is, of course, our life, and of course the conversations about we are challenged as a Jewish people. We're challenged for an understanding about who we are, what we stand for, and how important this is to us, and how do we as a people, how do we nurture life, spiritual life today, and of course integration, how this, to nurture life, to be someone committed to nurturing life on all its levels, can be a core value for life. We end off with the booklet, of course, with the different sections on every day, supplemental, additional, who's who, and of course, personal reflections. Thank you for listening.